The FedProfits Association presents Thrive in the Recession through the power of no-bid contracts. And now, here's your host, Mr. Supercharged Profits himself, Ron Imbach. Welcome to Thrive in the Recession through the power of no-bid contracts, presented by FedProfits. I'm your guest host for today and the producer of the show, Rich Bontrager. But let me introduce you to the real hosts, the real experts of this podcast. First of all, let me introduce you to the founder of FedProfits, Mr. Chip Ellis. Over the last 16 years, Chip has empowered over 3,000 small businesses to capture federal contracts without bidding. We're going to get more into that throughout the show here today. And let me introduce you to the executive director and the regular host of this podcast, Mr. Supercharged Profits, Ron Imbach. He is currently focusing on working with small businesses in the top 40 industries that are in the greatest demand with federal contracts for goods and services that they offer. Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome. Good to see you, Rich.
Good to be here, Rich. Thanks.
So it's official. We're launching the FedProfits podcast in 2024. What does that feel like, first of all?
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I really like that. So I'm excited about this.
You've been talking about this for a while, guys, and we're actually getting into it. So, Ron, I'm going to start with you, first of all, but give me a brief introduction, who you are, what you do, a little bit more than what I did right there a few moments ago.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm the executive director of FedProfits, the International Association of U.S. Government Contractors. Chip and I have known each other for several years now. We've had our businesses together for 4+ years. And my background worked for many, many years helping businesses with B2B and B2C sales, mostly in the commercial sector. But over the last years with Chip, of course, I focused on, as Rich mentioned, the top 40 industries that benefit the most from federal contracts. They're most in demand for federal contracts. Over my career, I've worked as a consultant, a coach, an accountant, worked with big businesses, small businesses, mature businesses, new businesses, all around the block, for-profit, nonprofit. So I have a lot of experience in business. I also at one point got an MBA in marketing because I like marketing. I enjoy it a lot more, but I'm not afraid of the numbers. I do have an accounting and an econ degree from business school as well. And just really love working with small businesses, always have, always will, and love to help them grow with federal contracts, especially these no-bid federal contracts.
Which we're going to get to a lot more. And now, Chip Ellis, the founder of FedProfits. You've been doing this for a while, Chip. Tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, my background, I was in telecom for 30 years. So if you see me twitching on the screen here a little bit, that's why. And I sold one of my companies to AT&T. I retired, and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce reached out, and they said they had a program that helps small businesses get into the federal marketplace. And so I joined I joined the U.S. Chamber, and for 2 years, we just helped thousands of small businesses be successful and grow their businesses. And then back in 2008, you remember that, the last recession, the last craziness, the Chamber decided they didn't want to present the program anymore. The U.S. Chamber happens to be the largest lobbyist in the United States, even bigger than labor unions. And so it was just an area they didn't want to do anymore. And I'm retired. I had retired after selling my business to AT&T, and my son went to school, and I didn't have anybody to play with. So I went to the Chamber and I said, hey, can I buy this program? And it's a best practice to help folks do it. And to show you the heart of the Chamber, they sold it to me for $1. And so in February of 2008, I created the International Association of U.S. Government Contractors. I couldn't pick a name you can say in one breath. Like, I'm so happy I did that. But so the IAUSGC, we kind of just summarize it all down to FedProfits, because that's what it's all about, is getting profits from the federal marketplace. So FedProfits, we've helped over 3,500 clients, small businesses, get into the federal marketplace. And so as Ron shared, we supercharged it about 4 years ago. We joined forces and just really focused on helping small companies get these federal contracts. And many times we can do it without the bidding process. and without all the red tape and paperwork that prevents many people who are listening right now from even looking at federal contracting. And we show folks how to do it themselves. We're more coaches than we are consultants, meaning we're going to teach folks how to fish and not just give them a fish so they can get away from us and actually get these federal contracts on their own. So that's my background.
So let's dive into that. 15 years of that. I'm sure it's changed over the 15 years. Uh, what was it like? That was then. This is now, kind of between the both of you here.
Chip, why don't you take that one? I think that's an ideal one.
Yeah,
for
one of the
folks to
biggest
share.
changes, Rich, was no bid federal contract. I mean, there must be, let's not even exaggerate, there must be 100 right ways to do federal contracting. There must be 100. And what we found, though, there's a bit of a catch-22, a bit of a dilemma. You need experience in order to win a federal contract. But how do you get experience if you haven't won a contract? And so there's this whole thing. So it's very difficult to win a bid because of this need for experience. Well, the no bid process, again, one of these 100 ways, one of these 100 best practices, is a way to get contracts without having the experience. And so just like back in 2008 and today, that hasn't changed. You still need experience to win a bid. And so it's very difficult to get off probation and start winning bids unless you use this no bid process. That's been the same. Here's what's different. It used to be almost this simple. I mean, I want to say no bid contracting is easier than bidding, but it's not easy. Does that make sense? Like, it's not easy, but it's easier than bidding. But before COVID, you would go in and create a relationship with the federal purchasing people. And once that relationship, 3, 4, 5 months, you'd build this relationship. You'd physically go see them, have a coffee with them, build a relationship like you would any other potential client. And once that relationship was built, then you'd get these no bid contracts. Like you wouldn't get any contracts till you built the relationship. Well, in COVID, everybody went home. Like everybody, the buyers, the federal people went home. And by the way, today, very few have gone back. Very few. So the number one strategy of physically going to see the buyer, because there's federal buyers in every city in the United States, instead of physically going to see them, what can you do? And so we've had to come up with strategies on how do you build a relationship when you can't get in front of them. So that's been a big difference in no bid contracting now versus when we started, or really pre-COVID.
So, Ron, I know there's 80 different key industries that you guys get into. There's the top 8, and I know you spend a lot of time in that. Just share a little bit. What in the world are we talking about with industries and no bid contracts?
Well, what we talk about when we're talking about industries in greatest demand, we go out and find for our clients the contracts, okay, that are going to be good fits for them. This is what they're interested in. And we have a number of different search criteria. We have the resources to be able to go out and access opportunities with all 4,600 agencies. So that's pretty exciting. And if you really think about it, and I emphasize this all the time in our master class that we also offer, which is a 2-hour class on federal contracting, is that all of those 4,600 agencies, there's no what I call mom and pop federal agencies. They're all multi-million-dollar agencies that if any one of them became a client, okay, even the smallest ones, they'd be one of the biggest clients that most of our small business clients have. So, what our program does is we take elements of obviously what we've been doing for 15 years, came from the Chamber of Commerce, and then we've been doing it for a long time as well. We take elements of that, but then in addition to that, we've added many, many other layers, ways to help our clients based on what Chip had mentioned about changes, how things have changed just in the last few years because of COVID. All right. So we have ways of building, and if you hear me talk about this, and believe me, on the podcast, you'll hear this many, 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 many times as I'm doing the podcast, relationships. All right. That's the key, building relationships. So we've come up with different ways for our clients very innovative strategies that a lot of folks aren't doing. In fact, I don't know of many people that are doing them, but it's ways to get our clients in front of the right people, the right agencies, and to find them the right opportunities so that they can, as the title of this podcast says, thrive in the recession. Because the great thing about the federal government, and we might as well tell you why it's called thrive in the recession.
I was going to ask you
the
that.
power
Perfect.
of no bid contract. That'd be a good good thing to define for you, right? Well, the reason we say that is thrive in the recession because the federal government, one, is the biggest client that spends more money than any client that any business, big or small, could have anywhere in the world. Okay, the federal government spends more money every year, and we're going to have to change this before long to 700 billion. But for the last several years, it's been over $600 billion the federal government spends, okay, on procurement contracts with businesses just like any small business, large businesses, all business. It's not done. They're not spending the money internally to have the services done. All right. So first of all, the federal government is just huge. Second of all, the federal government will spend more money in a recession than they normally spend. So just overall, they're spending more money than anyone at any time. During a great economy, during all times of the year, they're always spending money. But when there's a recession, they really want to pump money into the economy to help, especially small businesses, because they know small businesses are the driver of our economy. They employ more people. So it's incredibly important. They generate the stats. So they know how many small businesses go out of business every year. And it's a staggering stat. It's very depressing. But there are ways, and I think that's what our program does. And we're going to talk about all different kinds of ways on the podcast that we help businesses, even during the most difficult time for a business to survive and thrive during a recession, through federal contracts and just the sheer size of the spending, as well as the time during a recession, they're spending even more money. They want to, in spite of the fact that a lot of folks think, oh, this is a big business game, if you play it the right way and you're a small business, you can do incredibly well because they really want to work with small businesses. There are laws geared to help small businesses, set asides for small businesses on federal contracts. So it's not that, oh my goodness, all the contracts go to big companies for millions and millions of dollars. Okay, every federal building, and by the way, there are 361,000 of them in this country, but every federal building has to be cleaned. Every federal building needs to have the roof repaired. Every federal building needs to have the grass cut. And those are not multi-million-dollar contracts that can go to big businesses. Big businesses often get a lot of them because small businesses are not there. They haven't done a good job. They don't have the experience and they don't show up properly. But if you do all the things that we coach our clients to do, okay, and prepare them for federal contracting, you can do incredibly well.
So Chip,
Jack,
now that Ron,
let me underline
Yeah.
something. Let me underline something Ron said, and that is the number one things is Ron and I go all over the United States and, talking to Chamber of Commerce's, I was just in the LA Chamber of Commerce, afterwards they come up and talk to us. And the number one question we get is, hey, I'm a small business. Do they buy what I sell? Like, this is the number one question we get, isn't it, Ron? And guys, listen, let's go back to those laws Ron was talking about again. Listen to this. Every federal contract that's $150,000 or less, by law, has to be set aside for a small company. Listen to what we got last year. Remember, 100%. By the way, that represented 40 million contracts set aside for small companies. We only got 6.7%. Wait a second, Chip, you just said it was a law. Yeah, here's what the law says. If the small business doesn't show up or show up properly, they can give it to a big guy. The big businesses are getting all of the contracts that belong and have literally been set aside for us little guys. That's why Ron and I were like crusading across the US to say, come on, you're leaving so much money on the table. Let me give you a couple more laws real quick. Ron mentioned $600 billion they spend, like who knows how many zeros that is. But 80% of that money, 480 billion, has been set aside for small companies. Are you kidding me? And here's a third law that'll blow your mind. When a big company gets a contract, they have to outsource 31.7% to a small company. Guys, this is a small company game, but we're not playing. We're not playing. So our purpose, our mission in life is to get small companies properly playing the game so you can pick up some of this money. I don't know if it's going to be your biggest target market. For many of our clients it is, but it certainly should be one of your top 5 target markets. You kidding me? So just like Ron said, if you're a small bit, like they have all the big companies they could handle, right, Ron? I mean, they got all the big guys. Let's just, like, they don't need any more. I'm sorry if you're listening to this and you're a big company, sorry. But they are looking for small companies that do what they say. That's the caveat. You have to do what you say, obviously. But they're looking for you. They're looking for good small companies who can finish the job on time and do a great job. And they have contracts ready for you if you want to come and pick them up.
So this podcast, Ron, that you're going to be hosting, not me, you, is targeted to help small businesses understand they can be big players, right?
That's our audience. Our audience are small businesses who, either want to take their business to another level. They've maybe never done or only done a little bit of federal contracting. All right. They've heard about it, but maybe been a little bit scared. They've heard what Chip and I refer to as federal contracting myths and misinformation. It's like, oh my goodness, all the contracts go to big businesses. Oh my goodness, the federal government doesn't pay on time. All kinds of things that are not true. So a lot of small businesses have been shy about jumping into the pool, so to speak, and into a pool that's as we've already said a couple of times, a $600 billion plus pool. It's huge. Okay. So the podcast is going to focus on so many ways that businesses can see what they need to do. I'll bring on guests that can talk about a lot of it, because it's, there's a lot to federal contracting. When you're talking about $600 billion plus of spending every year, and that, by the way, that number is always going up. That's why I said we're probably going to have to change that to 700 billion before long. But we're going to go through all the different ways. And of course, we're going to have a strong emphasis on the no bids. Okay. Because if you really think about it, would you rather, if you could build relationships, would you rather get a bid that you don't have to, with no competition, the amount of the contract? Or would you rather go out, try to figure out what number you want to bid and complete maybe a 80, 100, 120 page complicated bid spec? Those are not fun to do. Okay. I know people, I live just outside of Washington, D.C., in Alexandria, and I can tell you the people that live in my neighborhood that even know they do that for a living, I don't think they enjoy it that much. So we're going to have a strong emphasis on no bid contracts, but we're also going to talk about a lot of different ways that you can get federal contracts, a lot of different ways that you can build relationships. And then we're going to also talk about, because once you're getting the contracts, we're even going to talk about ways that you can improve and enhance your profitability with your business. We're going to do all kinds of things like that. So it's a podcast. I'd love for you to join me. It's going to be weekly. I'd love for you to come by and see us. There's a reason that we call it, that I am known as the Mr. Supercharged Profits, because we want to help you grow your business with revenue, creating another income stream with federal contracts. But then we also want to help you be more profitable as well, put more money back into your pocket.
And Chip, I just want you to be, I know you love this stat. So I'm going to let you brag on this stat for a second here. No bid contracts, the government has to pay them in 30 days. The payments are 30 days. You're guaranteed money, right?
That's correct. In fact, a lot of folks, they combine, when they hear government contracting, they put city, county, state, school board, federal, they put it in this big ball called federal contracting. And they go, yeah, my uncle's sister, couldn't make any money with it. It was all bad. So guys, when we're talking, we're taking city, county, state, school board, we're setting that aside. Why? Because we're actually recommending folks don't go after city, county, state, school board business today. Why? Because they're broke. They're not bringing in the tax dollars they were just a couple years ago. And so, hey, they're going to be a great market in a year or two. But for now, you're going to get slow paid. You'll get paid. We had a client back in 2008, back in the last recession. They did a $2 million paving contract, and they were only about a $2 million company. So they did the happy dance when they got the contract, but then they didn't get paid for a year. They got paid, but it took a year. And so what happened was it almost put them out of business. They barely survived because they had to pay their people, et cetera. That doesn't do us any good. The federal government by law has to pay us within 30 days or pay huge penalties. Huge penalties. Penalties are so big, you're going to be like this. You're going to be like crossing your hands, bowing your head and saying, please, God, please let them be 3 days late so I can get that penalty. Okay. But they won't be. They won't be. Normally the penalty is 50%, 50. That's right. You heard that right. Not 15, 50, 50. Quick story. We had one client down in Fort Lauderdale, painted a VA water tower, kind of went in, cleaned it, painted the inside of it. It was about $100,000 job. And by the way, this is my only story of a late payment in all the time I've been doing federal contracting. One story, here it is. And so $100,000, and he got paid 3 days late. And so he got the $100,000. He got $50,000. He didn't have to call me. Like, I heard him screaming from 3 states away that he got paid that. So here's the bottom line. In today's environment, our commercial clients are starting to tighten their belts, aren't they? Our commercial clients are starting to slow pay us and starting to move us from 60, 90, 120. And some of our smaller clients, they're going out of business and we're not getting paid at all. So here's a market that we can go after, and it's like worth our time, because when we do get a contract, and federal contracts tend to be bigger, when we get a contract, we can sleep at night because we know we're going to get paid within 30 days.
Well, if that doesn't excite anybody, I don't know. I mean, money on top of money if they're late. But like you said, that 30-day clock is very important, and they hit it. It's like guaranteed money once you get the contract. Ron, we're going to put the QR code up here. We want everyone to know to go to the website, fedprofits.com. What are some of the things they're going to learn when they go to fedprofits.com?
No, first of all, they'll see the top 40 industries. So you can see whether you're one of those industries that really can benefit from federal contracting. But quite frankly, and we say this a lot, the federal government buys everything. All right, they buy everything. So this is one of the things I say when I do our master class. I say it would take me 30 seconds to tell you what the federal government doesn't buy. It would take me 30 hours of speaking much faster than I'm speaking right now, continuously, to tell you what they do buy, because they buy everything. All right. So whatever your small business is, there's a pretty good chance they do buy something, but there are 40 that we focus on. And then even of those 40, there are the 8 top industries that we focus on. So you're going to learn about that. You're going to learn a little bit more about Chip and I. All right. That's hopefully that's a pretty cool thing as well. You'll learn about our team. We have a great team, including some coaches that literally combined have over 30, 40 years of experience doing federal contracting in a number of industries. In addition to that, you're also going to have the opportunity, I've mentioned a couple of times, master classes. You'll have the opportunity to sign up for a master class. It's a 1.5 to 2 hour class that's going to give you everything you need. So if you've ever thought, would federal contracting be a good fit for me? Wonder if that's a way I could grow my business. By the time, the whole purpose of us doing the master class is to give you enough information so you can make an informed, intelligent decision and say, I think I do want to go down this road with federal contracting. I do think this would be a great fit for me. And then if you decide to do that, then we have another step, because you're probably then thinking, want to do federal contracting, do I want to work with FedProfits and have them help me? Well, in addition to our 15 years of experience, we offer an orientation workshop that can help you. It will tell you exactly what we do to help our clients. And it'll introduce you to coaches, various people that are going to help you along the process of getting procurement ready, showing up properly, building great relationships. And then, as Chip mentioned a little earlier, then you have to do a good job on your contracts. You do those three things and do them effectively. A small business, that's how you play the game correctly and do really well with federal contracts.
And again, we're just teasing things up. This is just the beginning of it. Ryan's going to come back and have a new show, a new guest, a new topic, and keep going deeper and deeper into no bid contracts. Chip Ellis, the founder of FedProfits, thanks for being with us on Podcast Zero, the launching of the FedProfits podcast. And of course, Ron Imbach, you will be back once again to continue the conversation. Thank you guys for being with us here to help you launch your podcast. Thank you for joining us on the Thrive in the Recession through the Power of No Bid Contract show. If you want more information on no bid contracts, visit us at www.fedprofits.com. We hope that you will join Ron Imbach, Mr. Supercharged Profits, next time as we continue to explore how no bid federal contracts can seriously grow your business. Be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts or visit the FedProfits YouTube channel. Until next time, have a prosperous week.